Hey, what's going on, guys? So, Jono's Best here. This is my review for the iPad 2. Let's go to first look at the hardware. And the iPad 2 is 33% thinner and 15% lighter than the first generation iPad. Now, when you pick it up for the first time, you're not going to really notice that big of a difference in weight. But the big thing I noticed was the thinness of it. It just feels a lot better to hold in your hand, whether you hold it in portrait or the landscape mode. And also, too, the back of the devices has a more flat surface. Now, the problem with the iPad 1 is that the surface is a little bit curved, a little bit rounded, which look good. But if you set the iPad on the desk and actually wanted to start using it, it'll actually wobble. With the iPad 2, since it does have a flat back, you don't have that problem anymore. And also the speaker on the iPad 2 is improved and just really bigger in general. So I think the sound does sound a little bit clearer, and we are holding the iPad in landscape mode, probably playing a game or something. The sound just really pumps out a little bit louder than the first generation iPad. As far as the button layout, everything else is relatively the same on the iPad 2. And as far as the internals of the iPad 2, it now features a dual-core A5 processor and also 512 megs of RAM. So this thing is a screamer as far as pumping out applications in different games, and I'll show you that here in a second. Okay, and also included in the iPad 2, it now features front and rear facing cameras. Now here's just a couple of video quality tests here. Now the first one I'm going to show you is the rear facing camera here, and I mean, Apple says it's 720p HD, but it doesn't look HD to me at all. So these cameras were primarily put into the iPad for FaceTime calling. So I mean, if you're expecting to capture family moments and to capture your son playing a football game, for this is not the camera that you want to use, and who's going to be using a tablet for that anyway. But it is sufficient enough for FaceTime calls. I've never experienced any type of lag on any type of FaceTime calls, anything like that, due to bandwidth issues. So they may even make these low quality for that reason. I don't know for sure. But the front-facing camera is actually in some cases better than the rear-facing camera. But overall, the cameras get the job done as far as primarily FaceTime calling. Okay, let's go and take a look at the software for the iPad 2. Now, iOS in general is really no different from the iPad 1 to the iPad 2, just that the iPad 2 has some specific applications that you can only get for it. Now, a couple of those are camera applications. You have Photo Booth, which allows you to add like different camera effects to pictures, just type of fun, whimsical type of things you can do with your camera. And also the second camera app, of course, is the FaceTime application to do FaceTime calling with other Macs and also other iOS devices in general. And also, too, iMovie is only available on the iPad 2. You can get it on the iPhone 4, but you can't get it on the iPad 1. And so iMovie on the iPad 2 is really, really cool. It's a very nice application used to do video editing. It costs about $5 though, so I'm going to get this out of this review because it's not really part of the iPad. And the other one is GarageBand, but that's both on the iPad 1 and iPad 2. But anyway, I digress. But again, the OS is in general still the same thing. It's still the same type of interface. But using the iPad 2, I haven't had any hang-ups, any mix-ups. Nothing has lagged at all. On the iPad 1, even though that was rare, it still got it sometimes. But even the iPad 2, I've been using it, haven't had any problems at all. And Safari in general and just all the applications run a little bit faster, a little bit smoother than the previous iPad 1. And Apple said you can get up to 9 times the graphical performance out of the iPad 2 compared to the iPad 1. And that's a really, really big difference. Now, on day one, there are already 3 or 4 games that were updated to take advantage of the new hardware in the iPad 2. And one of those was Infinity Blade, which was already an awesome looking game on the iPad 1, but it's gotten even better. You can see a lot more detail in the textures and the buildings and the characters themselves. They added a lot of different effects when you swing on your sword. And so developers in a week and a half have already improved that application this far. I can't wait to see in the next coming weeks what these applications is going to look like, especially running on this new hardware. And one of the cool accessories that you're going to get for the iPad 2 is that you can actually get one of these little smart covers that, as I use them from day to day, I'm actually starting to like these a little bit more, and they simply magnetically attach to your iPad. The iPad has magnets inside of it, and also the cover has the magnets inside of the cover itself, and you simply just slap it on there, and they'll actually protect your screen. And also, once you pull the cover up, if your iPad is asleep, it'll actually wake it up. If you close the lid, it'll actually put your iPad 2 to sleep. So again, this is only available for the iPad 2, and I think these little things are actually really cool. Also, a couple little quick bits about the iPad 2 is that you can get this thing on either AT&T or Verizon, so you have your choice between carriers if you are going to be getting the 3G model of the iPad. A lot of other tablets out there want to choose one carrier. This one you have 2 options to choose from. And also, this thing maintains its 10-hour battery life, so even with the extra horsepower, extra RAM, extra processor, it does maintain a 10-hour battery life, so this thing will last you all day. Okay, so my final assessment of the iPad 2 is that it's a very nice, solid update from the iPad 1. Now, this is also a necessary update that Apple needed to do as far as hardware-wise to keep up to par with some of these cool tablets that are coming out here soon. Now, it is smaller, it is thinner, it is lighter, but the most important things about the iPad 2 are going on inside. The dual-core processor, 512 megs of RAM, and also up to 9 times better graphical performance. So we're going to really see applications take advantage of this hardware. And I already saw on day one that some games are already looking a lot better running on this new hardware. And as developers start to use it more we're going to see that gap between the iPad 1 and iPad 2 start to widen here throughout the year. Now, a lot of people are kind of questioning whether they should upgrade from the iPad 1 to the iPad 2. Well, I mean, I'm not going to tell you not to. I mean, you know what you're getting if you're going to be buying the iPad 2. It is a nice solid update. It does add cameras to it. It is, again, smaller, thinner, lighter, and faster. So you can sell your iPad 1 and then buy the iPad 2. That'd probably be the route to go for a lot of people out there. But you won't be disappointed if you upgrade to it. But the main thing about the iPad 2, I think, is that it's for all those people who were kind of waiting on the tablet market there. You're waiting to see what Apple did with the iPad 2, and this is a perfect time to go in and buy it. The price point is exactly the same as the iPad 1. A lot of different models you can choose from, a lot of different price points. So this is the tablet to beat. This is the #1 tablet on the market right now, and Apple with the iPad 2 just further cement that here for a little bit. That could change, but for right now, that's how it is. Anyway, guys, leave a comment down below about what you think about the iPad 2. I'm interested to see what you think about it, and also make sure you do enter in my iPad 2 giveaway links at the end of this video. And thanks for watching, guys, and I will catch you later. Peace.